and though they call us rioters, we will not be ignored. The Lompriers can't quiet us, we'll have our day in court.
Through country lanes the country crowds chanted their challenges long and loud, shaking their shooks more riled and ratty than ever a crowd that lost the Mirati, to play at Jersey's favourite sport and have their day in the royal court. For they face a cost of living crisis brought on by rich men's greed and vices. In a healthy year when a hefty haul could have brought the harvest home to all, lords put screws on the farmers who owed corn ront to the crown on the wheat they had sowed, and inflated the cost of the daily bread that kept the poor of St. Helier fed. Their problems must seem insurmountable. No newspaper holds power accountable, with their every petition and protest ignored by a dictator sat in the royal court. For ruling in the court that day sits Lieutenant Bailiff Lomprier, a bacon cutter who'd happily carve the fat from the land while his people starved. In earlier days you'd heard people say, "Success to honest Charles Lomprier!" But 19 years of unchecked power has turned the milk of his kindness sour. Charles is now Emperor Lomprier, a smuggler and tyrant and rentier, who rarely ever assembles the states, gives cushy jobs to cronies and mates, packs the court with a loyal dozen of rentiers, his dad, his in-laws, his cousins, silences those who would speak up against him, threatens his critics, will even arrest them. But the best jobs he saves for his little brother, Philippe, who is just as corrupt as the other. As Receiver General, Phil received a rent on peasant farmers' fields, and this crown rent could be paid in sacks of wheat, but Phil preferred it in cash. And the thing that made cash payments sweet is a cash rent is tied to the price of wheat, so all Phil had to do was ensure wheat was scarce, so wheat was worth more. So they made sure that the wheat was exported, smuggled it out, refused to import it, fixed its price in the market with willing bakers taking and millers billing. Just that summer they'd seized their chance to repeal a ban on exports to France, and all to keep the price in the sky. 44 sous to the cabot high, the highest price in the British Isles. The island's rentier class all smiles, leave sol denier in their eyes, as the price of corn began to rise. The golden statue of King George II, his gilt-edged nostrils, shiny and new, must have smelled a smell unappetizing. The bread of revolution rising. So broke the dawn on that day to remember, the 28th day of that September, same day as the Assize d'Héritage, when jurats, seigneurs and brothers in charge would all be packed in the royal court. Same day rent payments would be sought, same day the corn market set its prices, saw the people of Jersey organising. Churchwarden Tom Gruchy rallies a throng of Trinity folk 200 strong. They pass by the window of Jurat Messervy, waking him from his sickbed early. They have the cheek to go demanding cider to fuel their common chanting. But he spots a face in the crowd he knows and shouts to Mr. Gruchy below, "Should I fear for my life, sir?" "No," Tom yells, "but the Lompriers better watch themselves." 400 or 500 are out on the march, from every parish but St. Brelard's. There are bold young women, old carousers, country gents and rabble-rousers. Edward Hockar marches there, a farmer swindled in the square by the Lomprier stooges who wouldn't accept his wheat and taxed him into debt. There's old La Balestier, firm but frail, whose son now languishes in the jail for failure to pay the ruinous rent, and brawling with the Deputy Vicomte. Approaching now is a rumbling rally of women, mums and aunts and grannies. Women who just a few weeks before had stormed a ship at St. Helier's port, filled with a cargo of corn, alarming as it would have left their families starving. They seized the wheat at risk of their lives, sold it right there at a fairer price, and handed the profits right back to the captain, saving the day by preventing a famine. There are British soldiers marching today, whose veterans' wages are cut to half pay and can't afford the cost of living, so march against the profiteering alongside men from the local militias, all hoping to change their abject conditions. There are people in poverty who live by the harbour, feeling the hunger all the sharper, close to the breadline, living in fear of the chaos caused in previous years. The fights outside baker shops, fights over bread, the fear their children might go unfed. The crowd pass Madame Mauger's yard, whose baker's shop's now locked and barred. They say she profits from the crisis, gouging the poor with the plunderers' prices. The Martin family, French refugees, shut their doors and turn their keys, fearful of those in the rank and file who want to see them leave this isle, who lay the blame on Huguenot migrants for pushing up the housing prices. But on through the town the multitude rushes and passes a building now under construction, where brickies are hauling and plying their trade on a brand new hospital, long delayed. They hear the chorus of people in song, down their tools and join the throng. To the market square in their scores they sought, where they beat on the doors of the royal court. Picture the crowd breaking in through the door, the dumbfounded doorman defying their roar as a whole host of Jersey folk send him sailing head over heels and over the railings. Picture the look of shocked surprise within Charles Lemprier's greedy eyes as rowdy bands of rustic sorts rush right into his rotten court, drumming a beat on the railings with their rusty tools and walking sticks, rabble-rousers with rabid supporters demanding that his court sign an order. Picture the greffier, ordered to write down 13 articles, black and white, that the people's laws should now be brought and recognised in the king's own court. End our lord's champer, our rector's tithes, curb unjust seigneurial rights, allow the import of foreign goods, wheat and every sort of food. Release that rowdy tearaway, La Balestier, from the jail this day, and monsieurs, cap the cost of our corn that raises the rent and starves the poor. Drag it from 44 right down to 20 sous per cabot, 'cause that is plenty. And what did the rioting mob do then with this impertinent paperwork penned? Well, they thanked the court and soon dispersed. As revolutions go, it could have gone worse. But those articles will be read aloud that weekend to rapturous local crowds in the market square, outside church doors, so people might know the people's laws. And though the brothers will leg it to Elizabeth Castle after 3 whole days with no further hassle, though they will sail to the King's Council bolting, crying, "Our peasants are revolting!" Though they'll sail an army to St. Aubin's Bay, and blood may very well spill that day, the Colonel's men will be met with cheers by these so-called murderous mutineers. And though the hand of a nameless official will bury the people's laws in scribble, though the Lempriers try their crooked devices, jailing Tom Grouchy and organisers, refuse to plough their lands for corn and almost starve the island once more, though Emperor Lemprier rules and reigns as lieutenant bailiff another whole decade, he will not stop what people power set in motion upon that hour. Can't stop the Privy Council seeing petitions Jersey folk send to the King. Can't stop the Code of 71 printing en masse so everyone, gentry, peasant and urban poor, might know the law and know their rights. Or the order in council that also states the court no longer controls the states. True democracy, real reform, where one man's vote will count for more, as long as that man owns just enough land and also happens to be a man, but still a huge step for the island of Jersey towards a truer democracy. It wasn't the first, would not be the last rising this island saw come to pass, but what they called a riot we could call a protest, where the calls of a crowd were part of the process. And if this all sounds familiar to you, like some of these problems are your problems too, remember that history often rhymes, and people are writing it all the time.
And